The following conversation contains coarse language and is about sensitive issues which could be distressing. Listener discretion is advised. And if you need support, there are details at the end and on our website, nova.ie.
Welcome along, folks. It is GloryDaze, the PJ and Jim podcast, a special GloryDaze, special for a couple of reasons, really. One is that setting out on this, we know exactly what it is we're going to be talking about. And secondly, because our aim, unlike any of the other kind of GloryDaze podcasts that we do, is, for reasons that will become apparent, we're not setting out to be funny on this one. So regular listeners to the radio show, to Morning Glory, will know that at the start of the year, start of 2022, PJ wasn't on the show for about the first 2 months, for January or February.
11 weeks, I think it was.
11 weeks in total. Was it really that long?
Yeah, 11 weeks.
So it was getting close to 3 months.
It was just a week before Christmas, up until the 1st of March was my first day back.
Yeah.
So it's gone for a good while.
A long while. And again, at the time, for reasons that will become apparent, we didn't make any particular reference to it other than referring to, he'll be back soon, he'll be back soon. So I suppose rather than me saying anything about it or whatever, in your words, what was going on?
Well, I was dropping you in the shit, basically. It was a big thing, to be quite honest. But I was in St. Pat's Mental Hospital for 11 weeks. Yeah, 11 weeks. I had to go in because of pretty much a breakdown, I suppose. Well, there's no other way of putting it. Well, there's loads of ways of putting it. They don't say that to you when you get into the hospital. But I had... depressive anxiety, recurring depressive disorder is apparently what they've diagnosed me with, which was news to me because I suppose I had bouts of it years before, but this is something that no matter how long I've been around doing stand-up or radio or anything, I've never spoken about it or said it to anybody ever. Like, it's just never, I've always just kept it as my business. I came close to it when we did the show Madhouse, but I never thought about talking about it. And the only reason I think we're doing it now is because everybody keeps asking, where the hell were you? Because
there's sort of two obvious questions about this, I suppose, really, is that the one obvious one is kind of why and why now. So in other words, because of over the years or whatever, you've kept your business to yourself.
Yeah.
And the fact that obviously whatever it is, how many months have passed since you've been out and whatever, like, is something different now, or is it just how you feel?
No, it's definitely different now. So I was, because I've had like bouts which were significant. I'd run really bad bout when I was a teenager, and to be honest, that was dealt with at the time that was the 90s, so it was dealt with a different way. First GP told me to put me runners on and get some exercise.
Wow.
But it was different. It's different now, thankfully. And then after that, every so often waves would come, but I knew what to do. I would just go to the GP, take this SSRI meds, and within a month or so I'd start to feel better, and then I got a way of managing it, so it was never a big deal. But then for the first time ever, it just got completely and utterly beyond my control to where I was a fucking danger to myself. I was a real danger to myself. Yeah, it was around August, yeah. And then come September, so effectively a year ago, I was getting to a place where I was having really sort of bad thoughts, dangerous thoughts. Stuff was starting to happen that I was starting not to feel in danger of myself, but a very uncomfortable place. Yeah,
because I remember one of the shocks, I suppose, for me when you said it to me, obviously before, we'll get into how the story unfolded or whatever. But I remember, when you said it to me one of the days or whatever, that came as a real land to me. The whatever about somebody being down or even depressed in the sense of a clinical sense, when you said about the sort of suicidal thoughts.
Yeah.
That was a real smack in the face.
Oh, it was, and that was at a much worse stage, because it was probably, I don't know when, but I was a couple of months, about maybe October or something. I'm sort of half guessing, because obviously I was so messed up, I have no real recollection of what way that time went. But I was talking with Elaine, my ex. I was walking with Elaine, and we were out with the dogs, and all of a sudden I had what can only be described as a complete and utter mental breakdown, to the point of I fell on my knees and everything. Like, I was just a complete another, as bad as I was before, it's just this unbelievable fear, like just unbearable, unescapable fear came over me. And then all I thought for the next, 2 months anyway, was I don't want to be alive. I couldn't think of anything else except not wanting to be alive. I couldn't think of anything else. And I was coming in here with you every day. And if you listen back to those shows, you'll hear it. I couldn't contribute to the show. I couldn't do it. You were doing all the work. And we had, in that time, it was an awful time because Gavin James came in and I wasn't able to ask him any questions. I couldn't think of it because all I was thinking the whole time was, I don't want to be alive. I don't want to be alive. I don't want to be alive. That's all of nothing else. And this unbearable fear, this horrible, horrible fear. And the only way of getting rid of it, I thought, was just to not be around anymore. It was just, and fear of nothing, like just a fear of like the crazy stuff going on in my head, you know, like it feels so stupid when you say it now, but fear of homelessness, fear of being poor, fear of not having money, fear of having no skills, fear of being useless, fear of being a burden on people, fear of all of that, you know, just feel like you're in the way of the world, like just unbelievable fear. And when I had that breakdown, I was in with the psychiatrist. I went to see, I was in and out with the psychiatrist anyway. But then it got so bad, the psychiatrist was ringing me every 2 days. And I had to still go into him. And it cost me a fortune. And I tell you, that's now.
I'm sure that didn't help.
That side of it doesn't help now. So I was in every 2 days. He had to keep ringing me every 2 days, making sure, checking in, because I had become such a real threat to myself, you know. And then there was one point where I said it to you because things got so bad that it was 4 o'clock in the morning. I woke up and I was talking to, you know, my friend Stephanie Prizer, who's like the greatest human being I've ever met. Like she's just my best friend. You know, I just couldn't have. And it was 4 o'clock in the morning, and I knew I'm not going to survive today. Today's the day. I'm not going to survive this day. It was just, I've never felt so low, so. Like I was completely and utterly incapable of anything but this blind, insane panic that I had to make stop. I had to make it stop. And I went to Stephanie Preisner at 4 o'clock in the morning. I got to the house at 4 o'clock in the morning. You know, and she came out and we got into the car, and I was literally physically shaking in a ball. Like I was, you know, physically shaking, hands clenched, head down. And she saved my life that day. Yeah. Like no shit, she saved my life that day. And we went and she was I was there, I need porridge. I don't know why I was thinking of porridge, but I was like, you know, Jesus, that's I went and had something to eat, and then she put her hand on my arm and was just like, you know, whatever it is, you know, I can promise you it's going to pass. And I didn't believe her or anything, but I know if I didn't go to her house that day, so I was going to go and do something else. And that was kind of when, and it was straight after that then. Already during this whole time, the psychiatrist was saying, you need to go to hospital. You need to go to hospital. You need to go to hospital. And I wouldn't do it. I just wouldn't do it. I was resisting it because I thought, I'll definitely lose my job if I go to hospital. Yeah. That's gone. And the only reason I have to get up in the morning for anything is the job, you know. And I was like, I will definitely lose my job. Definitely. You can't have that. And, you know, and I was freaking out, you know, until I came into you and I had to say, I'm in a bad way. And you were like, what's wrong? And I says, I'm suicidal. Like, holy shit, what a thing to land on you, you know? Yeah.
No, but because I mean, and we can talk about that stuff with the job, because that was the weird thing, I suppose, that I actually found hard to believe was that was a concern. Yeah. And I suppose it like, you know, when we were talking about it at the time, of all of the things that could have been a concern, I couldn't get my head around you actually thinking that was, you know, the thing you were worried about was that, you know, that you would lose your job. Yeah. In among all of the other stuff that was going on. It seems extraordinary. But the other thing, like, so people are going to wonder.
I'm trying to keep it a secret, you know. I'm trying to keep it all a secret, which is insane, you know. Yeah.
But so a lot of people who obviously don't understand necessarily mental illness or whatever, they're going to assume a parallel of some sort with like medical physical illnesses, right? Yeah, and it doesn't really follow that parallel. No. So from your point of view, are you now, so you've had, say, a diagnosis, you have a name that somebody has put on this.
Yeah.
And it obviously, it's not like with a medical environment where somebody can say, oh, I tell you what happened here, that bone broke and then that caused that and that whatever. So there's not you don't have an origin point for any of this.
No, not at all. And I don't think I ever will. We'll never know why. We'll never know if it's like a chemical imbalance or if it's trauma related, or we'll never know. Like, you just don't know. All I just know is I became completely a prisoner in my own head, you know. And because I was being so quiet about it, that was what was ending up being really, really dangerous. So I was lucky. Elaine was around. The women in my life saved me life. Like, it was Elaine, that my ex, and she was the one that was saying, you have to go to hospital, you have to. Like, she was the one, and she was saying to me, you've been depressed for years. Like, she was saying, like, you've been doing all this stuff that you've hated doing for years. Like, you need to. She wanted me to sort it out so long, and I just didn't buy it. You know, just thought life's hard. But I'd never been on this level. You know, and
people will be surprised to hear you say that you've been doing something that you've hated, like in your past, like because. You know, the idea of the comedian, and even allowing for the sort of the cliche of the tears of a clown thing. I mean, the idea that, like, you know, the stuff that you've done in your past, the acting and the comedy and all that sort of stuff, people will be surprised because you were so successful at it. They'll be surprised to know that was something that was actually causing you pain.
Torture. So much of it was torture, you know. Like, I think Stephanie was describing it like, you know, I was waving because I was drowning and everyone was waving back.
Yeah.
You know, and then I'm just so lucky at the people around me at the time, you know, like, I'm so lucky, Elaine, just amazed, the greatest people in the world, you know. I wouldn't be alive without them, there's no doubt about it, you know. And they were the ones saying, you're not going to lose your, like, go to work, you have to go to hospital, you know. And then it was that moment where I was still sure I was gone, but it got to the point where it didn't matter anymore. Like, it had turned into a life or death situation. So I came in here, and everyone in here knew there was something wrong with me as well. I know they did. Like, I could see the faces, and I could see that they were like, why isn't he saying anything in the show? Whatever, you know. Yeah,
because that was tough. I mean, when you told me, and then there was those period of weeks or whatever before you had to kind of say it to the bosses here and whatever, because obviously the time of going into hospital was coming.
I'll go into hospital and then walk in. You gotta wait another few weeks, like, you know. And I think my waiting time, I was here with you doing the show for 3 weeks. I thought it was going to be 2. It turned out being 3.
And that was difficult because obviously it's not my secret to tell.
Yeah,
and I didn't know to what extent you wanted people to know what.
I know,
and so it was very weird.
And you were texting me, you know, Eric Lawler's looking for you. What the hell will I tell him? I was like, oh my god, you know, and I was still trying to keep everything under wraps. And oh my god, I dropped you in it so bad.
Not at all.
And then I took off, and the thing was, they told me they told me when I was going to hospital, it'll be 4 weeks, and I was there 4 weeks, and no more than 4 weeks. I was there grand. 11. So you were on air going, back next week. And then I was like, oh no, it's going to be another 2 weeks. You were like, okay, back in 2 weeks. And then it was another 2 weeks. You were like, coming back soon.
Yeah.
And then there was the weirdest moment ever when I was finally getting out. And we did a promo.
That's right.
And I was in the room in the mental hospital pretending I was on holidays. And you were here, kind of going, oh, we'll see you next week. I was, and I was pretending I was getting cocktails and all on a beach. Like, what? Because how mad was that?
For listeners, obviously the intention, I suppose, if you want to call it that, was, you know, when you refer to PJ doing his own thing, obviously because you have your finger in so many pies, you know, the acting, the comedy, the writing, the, you know, the stage shows, all that sort of stuff. As a result of that, I suppose you weren't telling lies, you were just letting people decide their own truth of what was going on.
And dropping you in it, because you were in here getting text messages from people who listen to the show going, tell us where he is, what's going on, this is bullshit. And Jim's like, I don't know what to do. And you're like, not wanting to pressure me.
Yeah.
And you're like in here every day trying to do your thing, and
I just want to ask you, because in fairness, you mentioned Stephanie and you mentioned Elaine, who were so integral to kind of getting you through this and all that. But what was the story? How did you feel about about your mum during this situation?
But that was it as well.
Like, were you worried about
terrified.
telling her because it would add to her difficulties?
She's not well either.
Yeah,
you know, she's got her own health issues.
And did she notice it, or was it? Or did you manage to hide it from her?
I think I'm very good at hiding things from my ma. I think I've been hiding things from her my whole life, let's be honest. I'm not exactly been the most productive human being in the world. So I've been hiding. So I think I was hiding it. I think it came as a real shock to her when I said I have to go to hospital. I think it came as a real shock. She's from an era where there's no such thing as mental health. You're either mental or you had health. There's no
in between.
There's no ring word. And then and I was so terrified of leaving her on her own because she can't, really manage things on her own. She needs help, and then I was like, I'm going to be gone for what I thought was a month, and what in the name of God is going to happen? And then all the time, the big fear coming in here. I basically thought I was throwing my job away, And then you were saying, you're not going to. And I went into our boss, Kevin, when I finally got the courage, and said, I have to go to hospital. And no, everything that was catastrophic in my head, this place handled it unbelievably well. I'm so lucky to be here. So lucky that this was our job. So lucky that we had the boss. That he didn't even ask me why or what, just told me full support. Absolutely behind you. You need to do what you need to do. Don't worry about it. We'll deal with it. We'll say what you want us to say. We're on your just full, complete support from the start. The relief, And then I was saying to him, 4 weeks, worst case scenario. He said, no problem. And then I had to ring our boss 3 times to say I'm not getting out. I'm not getting out. And each time I thought was going to be I was really disappointed in letting them down, and each time Kevin was just 100% supportive, 100% supportive. And I don't know what it is about depression. Just tells you everyone's going to think you're a loser, or you're letting them down, or it's just confirming to everyone what a piece of shit you are, or how useless you are. That's what it tells you, That's what it tells you every day, It tells you you're right to be afraid of everything, that everything bad will happen, And worse, and it just didn't, It's so lucky to be here. And Clint and yourself, man, Jesus Christ, talk about dropping the two of yous in it, And yous are we're nothing but supportive and great, Clint, in fairness as well, just do what you need to do. You just, again, so lucky that I had the right people around me,
So when you went to the first, obviously, so you've been going through all of those feelings that you described earlier on, or whatever, which it was just it's even, it's actually sort of hard to hear even at that, that the depth and the, you know what I mean, how sort of piercing that feeling sounds of what you're going through or whatever. But when you finally, so you went and you were talking to the docs involved or whatever, the various people, medical professionals you had to deal with. At that time when they said you're going to have to go into hospital, right? Was that a moment of relief?
No.
Or was it an oh my God, it must be really bad?
Oh my God, I'm never getting better.
Right, okay.
I don't know what I thought hospital was, but I didn't think it was what it actually is, I just thought hospital was for people who don't get out of hospital. I thought it was going, I don't know what I thought, to be honest. And that first day, and it was the middle of COVID and all, so the hospital was locked down. You're not allowed to go out for a walk on your own. You can walk around the garden, but you have to schedule yourself in to be brought on a walk. And that day, walking into the hospital, and you had to do your COVID test and wait for that to clear. So you're sitting there on your own, completely on your own for hours, in the worst headspace you've ever been in, and then they come and get you and they bring you onto a ward. And I was on the mixed ward, men and women mixed together. There's all kinds of different wards. There's, addiction ward and eating disorder ward and depression wards and women only ward. There's all kinds. And they took me onto my ward, and I just was so overwhelmed. So overwhelmed. I just didn't know. I was like, what am I doing? Brought me into my little room, and I was like, Jesus, I can't believe this is real. Am I ever getting out of here?
So there was no sense of well, at least I'm being treated now. No, at least I'm in control. I'm taking in hand.
No, I just thought I was on the free fall. I just thought this is just the process to free fall. I just didn't think it was ever getting better. And then, and then simple things the nurses have to ask you, are you a danger to yourself? And you're like, I don't think so is your best answer, and then they don't want you in your room and they have to move you, so they wanted to move me so they could keep an eye on me 24 hours on a bay, with shared beds, and I didn't want to move. I was freaking out, and once again another brilliant woman came to the rescue, because I was sitting in the communal area on day one, and on day one, this woman freaked me out, came over and gave me all rose beads and everything. But then another woman came over and she was like, what do you need? And she talked me through, and was there, I'm going to take you around the hospital. And I got in trouble, of course, because I wasn't allowed off the ward for a few days. You're not supposed to be out of the site, And she just kept talking to me. I'm still really good friends with her, actually.
So this was
I'm still really good friends with a lot of the people.
Another patient, as opposed to...
Another patient, yeah. Sorry, yeah. And she was just... She saved me an extra 2 weeks in St. Pat's, no doubt about it. Because I know from talking to and seeing it then when I was in there, people go in, they arrive in the room, they're afraid to come out. They don't know how to socialise. They're in the worst headspace. It takes a while to build up the courage to communicate. And because of her, she definitely saved me. Another 2 weeks, no doubt about it.
And all of those times where, as you say, you had that initial 4 weeks, and then they said, well, look, no, we're going to... When they're saying that to you, are they saying it to you because there's a specific objective, or is it just, no, we don't think it's quite ready yet?
No,
or is it... So, in other words, what I'm saying is you don't have anything tangible to necessarily grip onto.
But no, not really. But there is a plan, from the day you land. Like, it's the best place in the world. Like, it is an incredible hospital. Like, and because I was loaded on sedatives. When I was coming in here, I couldn't think straight, Yeah,
because that's like my memory of the because you kept apologising all the time, and I kept saying to you, stop apologising.
Yeah.
Because you were apologising all the time, saying like, I can't, because by your standard you weren't hitting punchlines that
at all.
you'd normally.
I was just saying no to you.
It just wasn't coming into your head.
Nothing.
But, I mean, to be honest with you, like it obviously it sounds a bit crass or something to say it now, but I mean, it wasn't as bad as you thought it was. Do you know what I mean? It was just by your standard, you weren't hitting kind of marks that you might have normally hit or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was obvious that your head was sort of swirling.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, is that what your own personal definition of feeling better is? Is it clarity, or is it something that's not in your head? It's in just an overall feeling, an emotion.
It's a feeling, yeah. It's just a feeling. It really is. It's impossible to describe, to be honest. It's impossible to describe, because you just feel, I don't want to live, and nothing else. Like, no other feeling. Like, there's no happiness, sadness. No, it's just this panic, and the only way out is to be dead. That's all. Like, there was no other emotion, and there was no other thought. Like, you're never distracted for a second. Like, that's happening all the time, And then
what was it that felt so different? It's just the intensity. Because you said, like, on those occasions in the past, and even Elaine said, look, you've been fighting this, struggling against this your whole life with things.
Yeah, she's
so. But this time round, obviously, the intensity of
was just stronger and heavier than anything ever.
And whatever medication or whatever in the past, it just wasn't working.
I used to take medication, and see, this is what I did. I used to take the meds, and then when I felt better, I'd stop taking the meds. Because I know better, like, me being a trained psychiatrist. Fucking idiot. But I did it because the SSRIs had these side effects that I hated, and then so when I went into hospital, I was loaded on the sedatives, so they were just trying to make me not panic. They weren't really fixing me, they were just sedating me, so the whole process then when I got in was trying to get me off the sedatives, get me on an antidepressant that works, and then pull back on the sleep meds I was on, because obviously you can't sleep when you're like that, and I was on sleepers and all that sort of stuff. So it was all that balance, getting that balance. But that balance takes, like, it's 2 weeks to do any one of those things.
Because they've got to see reactions, and they've got to take bloods, and they've got to do whatever.
Once you don't know which one's making the right difference, and you like that, you have to give your blood, and you have to get weighed, and and you have to get used to the place, and you have to then wait. I was in there 3 weeks before I talked to a psychologist. Like, there's a lot that has to happen, and you've got the nurses and all of this is happening, and then I'm like within I don't know, maybe about 3 weeks in, I definitely felt a change, And then at about 6 weeks, about roughly just over halfway, I started to feel okay, but okay in hospital. And then it was a totally different fear. Then I couldn't face the idea of leaving, you know. I just couldn't face the idea of leaving. I had this new little world and it was so safe. I had my little room and I had my meal times every day and the food was always half decent. I liked the food.
I always remember when I'd be ringing you, and you'd say, "Oh, listen, I can't talk to you now. I have to go for my walk."
I have to go for my walk, yeah.
Because it was timed or scheduled or whatever.
Your minders or whatever the hospital assistants would take you for your walk, you know, and you have to book it and all. It's hard to get on it. You know, you have to wait in queue and all.
And obviously, I mean, part of that was down to the COVID thing as well.
The
part
COVID
of that was
thing,
and staff issues and all those. Because even visiting and stuff was slightly different.
Visiting
was
a pain because you can only have 4 visits in a week. So you had to get to know.
And they had to be designated people and
designated
all that.
people, only like X amount of nominated people and 4 visits a week. And then you get carried away. Like then hospital became enjoyable. Then I was like, enjoyed hanging out, having late nights and chats with everyone into the night and bingo.
That's the thing I was about.
Jesus, I got mad in the bingo. and you think to yourself when you go in, bingo, I'm never playing bingo. Especially when you hear the prizes, like a packet of crisps or a face cloth. And then you win a face cloth and you're like, yes! Because your world is so small. This is like the best thing ever.
Because most people have they've either got a preconceived notion out of Jack Nicholson's The Shining or something.
I know, yeah.
Or else they've got no notion of what the idea of a facility would what days would be like. And obviously, I know you can't go over the top talking about it because there's privacy issues and everything. But
can't
as you
say
say,
the names of the people in there or anything.
The normality of things like that. It's effectively it's your reading. You have your music maybe. And as you say, bingo. Or chats with other patients.
Yeah, and that's what it is. You're hanging, and that's totally
Did you get good at the bingo?
Regular people, huh?
Would you get good at the bingo?
Oh, I was deadly. I won. I had a night where I won, I think 4 or 5 times. I had a streak all in a row.
So now you have 4 or 5 face cloths, have you?
Oh, no. I won a packet of chocolate logs one night, and I won a large...
That was for a full house.
A large... Big, large, huge orange crisp bar and all. And, stuff like that. And you get so into it, like.
Yeah.
And then I won toothpaste one night. I was disgusted. I only had a line that night.
Shocker.
I was disgusted. And you get it. I did sound meditation, which was gas. I couldn't stop laughing, though. Like, it's for some people. That's the thing as well. You have to realise... Not everything's for you. Like, I was doing sound meditation. Woman put a bowl on my belly and kept hitting it with a spoon and go boom, boom, boom. I was like, okay, I am not drifting away here, But I did that. But I was at a stage, at least, I was able to laugh then.
Yeah.
It was one of my favourite nurse there. She was amazing. She just looked after me so well. And I kind of judged my... recovery almost on her. Because when I first arrived in, she was like... are you okay? I'm like, no, I'm not okay. Are you dangerous to yourself? No. She kept having to check on me all the time. I was in such a bad way. I was in such a bad way for so long. And she was like in with me. And then she gave me like this colouring poster. I was like, colouring books and all, like just to try and get your mind off things. I was doing that. And then I just really got on with her, that way. And then one night she came in and she goes, that's the first time I knew I was getting better. It was late night. I was staying up with a couple of the women chatting, and she was there, and she goes, listen, Mia, my husband's from Turkey. She goes, do you know what noise a donkey makes? And I was like, yeah, hee-haw. She goes, yeah, well, he told me that in Turkey the donkeys go ha-hee. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, she goes, yeah, she does. And so I was over in Turkey with him, she goes, and we seen a donkey on the side of the road, and says, right, pull over. We're going to wait till the donkey says something, and you'll hear he goes, hee-haw. And they stopped and got out, and the donkey goes, ha-hee. So Turkish donkeys do it backwards.
Wow.
And I don't know why, but to me that was the funniest thing I'd ever heard. And that was the first time I was laughing, like proper laughing. I was like, holy shit, I'm coming back to
It's
myself.
funny you should say that because, and I know it's all subtle, but like when we'd have the phone calls or whatever, and I'd ring you, I actually know there's a difference. And again, it's an impossible thing to try and describe.
Yeah.
But there's a difference in, it could be just certain words or phrases or it's not even about somebody kind of like the assumption is that somebody's kind of like, oh yeah, no, and then one day they're kind of like, oh no, I'm fine, and it's obviously not that. Like it's just even within the words you were saying,
yeah,
I could notice a difference in in something about you during that time.
Oh, yeah.
But it's interesting that you say that you got to a place where you were happy in there. So at what point do you remember it even being something that you became aware of, that you kind of felt, I'm ready to go now. I feel whether it's empowered enough or whatever it is to come out.
The last week I was walking around the place like I owned it, and I remember saying to the doctor, I think I'm ready to go. And he goes, no, you're not.
Right, yeah. When did you get your medical degree?
Like, excuse me. He goes, no, you're not. Like, we're going to keep you for another week, and we'll plan how we're going to let you out. So you don't just like walk out the door. I didn't think of these things. So you get let out, and you're still under their care for another 2 weeks. So they still have to ring you every day, and they still give you your medication. And, you still have to check in with them every day. I didn't think about all of this. So you can't just like say, right, I'm good. I was thinking I'll go at lunch tomorrow. A plan has to be put in place. You have to have your psychologist appointments planned, and you have to have all of that, ready to go. And so there's a week build up to it. You have to meet there's so many doctors, you see. There's your not proper doctor, all proper doctors, Jesus. There's the head psychiatrist, and then there's the reg, and there's the second reg, and then there's all the nursing staff. That you have to see the pharmacist, you have to see all, you have to go through so much in that last week. And that last week I was kind of itching to get out, to the point that I couldn't wait to get back here. Like, I couldn't wait to get back in here and do the show, with you, feel normal again, And they were saying, we don't think you should go back 5 days a week. I was like, well, I'm hardly going to go back in for 2. Like, it's radio. It's not like you can...
I do 4 hours a day, man.
Yeah, I'm not going... I can go in. What do you want me to do? Like, I can't, go in and just say, Jim, I was just thinking about coming back part-time, It's not like you don't do enough already.
But I tell you, there's a couple of things I wanted to ask you about. One of them is it's a kind of a personal thing from me, but it may look for people listening to this, it may be potentially beneficial to somebody or whatever. How were you aware, or how did you feel about how people were interacting with you at the time? Like, okay, so what I'm saying is, just from a personal perspective, and like, God forbid that I would overthink something, as you well know. But anyway, it was that trying to find what I thought in my head was that balance between not overstepping the mark and becoming that sort of cling-on type person that was... that was almost emphasising there was a problem by, like we have our normal communication, and, we chat and make jokes and whatever about matches, and we send stuff to each other and all that. And it was kind of not, I was unsure in myself, where I didn't want to turn into this person that was suddenly rocking up on your doorstep all the time going, how are you? Do you want to go out for a walk? Are you okay?
I know,
what I mean?
I know.
Versus the sort of like acting like you don't. It was trying to find that balance.
I know, but in fairness, that's exactly what you said to me. You said, you just went, I don't know what to do. Like, this is, and you said, and that was perfect. That's what you say, And nobody got it wrong. Like, I can't be thankful enough for the people in my life. Like, I mean, everyone, like, Kevin and Nova, Jesus, all of Radio Nova was just so brilliant about it. Like, Dee was in with you the whole time. I don't think she asked you once where I was, but she obviously knew something wrong with that lad. She obviously knew there's something wrong with that lad. Like, and like, so everyone here was fantastic and reacted perfectly well. I think your fear is you're going to say it to people, and it's going to get out of the bag, and everyone's going to think something that's you're not, or I don't know what the fear is. You just think people won't know how to react, but people do. Nobody reacted badly. Nobody. I told a couple of my friends, they all were the same. If they didn't know what to say, they say, I don't really know what to say, but if I can do anything, or I'm here for you, or if you need to talk to me, like, the phone is on, The people who did know how to act just did it, Like, my ma was, again, she was like you. She was like, I don't know what to be saying. And I didn't want her coming to the hospital to see me, so that was, I just didn't want her to have to go through that, She's enough going on. And my sister was brilliant. Like, you think these things you think everyone you say it to is going to do something unbelievably bad is going to happen. I can't really explain it, but it doesn't, And I just wish I had gone into hospital 3 weeks early. Like, I wish I had just said yes and gone to fucking hospital, because it may, once I was in there, and now, and you learn how to manage it then. Like, I will never, ever, ever be that sick again. You know, it's never going to happen. I know
now you've got the tools.
Because now
or
I have
whatever.
the tools. I know what to do. You have to work at being well. You know, so I know how to act. You know, I've on meds that suit me. I've been supervised. We got them right. You know, a psychologist told me how to identify thought patterns. I have a guy on the end of the phone I can call when I'm in trouble. You know, I have friends who understand the illness. So I will get sick again. But it's never going to be like that again. I'll hopefully never be in hospital again. I'll hopefully never have to take time off work again. But, you know, I'm in a really good place. In fact, I went too good. I got out of hospital and went fucking mad altogether. Like, I've been half cut since I got out, and I've been on buying motorbikes like there's no tomorrow. I think I lost so much money between health insurance and doctors and everything that I just decided, I might as well go into debt for the whole lot then.
I'm going down in flames.
Yeah, I'm going down in flames. I was on a high then, and to the point that the tree...
Because it is extraordinary. Now I know it could well be more coincidence than anything else, but it is extraordinary that you were this person who, and because I often thought about it afterwards, you were this person who was almost tight, like as in strung, not highly strung in the sense that most people associate that, but you were so. Disciplined, I suppose, is a good word, because you were really disciplined with your food. You were in the exercise.
Control.
You never seemed to have I would weaken at the drop of a hat, whereas you were like,
control.
You
controlled everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then the person that came out of hospital
is a total different beast.
Was like a bon viveur. It was like embracing everything.
Joy of life. Oh yeah, I've never felt better. This is the best year of my life. Like, undoubtedly, this is the best year of my life. You know, I've learned to say no. I've learned to say fuck off. You know, I've learned to. I'm out on my bikes all the time. You know, I'm doing a job that I absolutely love in a place that I'm getting on with. Getting to wreck your head every day is much better than wrecking my own. You know, so it's.
Hope they kept a spot in that place.
Yeah. My mission now is to force Jim in there, get him to do a promo from the bedroom. So it's like I'm a totally different person now. But like a totally different person. Like, you know.
The other thing, again, from a purely selfish point of view, that I remember wondering was, because my only ever encounter with anybody that was dealing with, and it certainly wasn't even remotely close to what you were dealing with, but I remember somebody being given medication in relation to sort of mood stuff and depression, and, you know, as I say, nothing on the level that you were dealing with. And one of the things that it did was plateau. It kind of created a plateau. Yeah. So yes, it took away the lows, but it took away the highs.
I couldn't find anything.
And I remember wondering to myself, and I'm just wondering whether it ever crossed your mind, as to whether you would be the same. Yeah. So in relation to your comedy, in relation to the radio, in relation to who you were personality-wise, did you wonder about whether you would be that same person?
No, I thought that was gone. Like, I thought I was just this illness now, you know. I thought that was it, you know. Like, genuinely, I thought my life was effectively over, you know. And when you think that, you think, what's the fucking point then? You know, so what's the point? What's the point in suffering every day?
You thought it might actually take your edge away for like those, for that
for everything.
What in effect was maybe a part of it, the essence of your comedy.
The whole personality was gone. Sure, everything was gone. Nothing was funny. Nothing was, you know, like, just everything was gone. Like, it's like it felt like you chopped my hand off. You know, like that part of me, what I would say myself was just gone. All it was just this negative, pressing feeling that I could never get rid of. You know.
And when did you sort of? When did you get the peace then? When did you realise, you know something? No, now I've controlled the illness. Yeah. But I'm still me. And when did that feeling come back to you that I still...
Yeah, well, this was the thing in the hospital. I kept saying to me doctors over and over again, I feel good. I feel okay. But I still can't contribute to conversation. I still couldn't. Everything felt so deliberate. It's really weird. So my mood was lifting, but everything felt so deliberate, you know. Here's someone coming, I better say hello. Like, nothing was reflexive, you know. You should ask this person how they're feeling, how you feel. Like, it was, everything was so there was no spontaneous, that meant nothing was funny. I couldn't participate in conversation. I wasn't able to laugh along with anyone else, you know. And then the last 3 weeks I was in the hospital, that was when that started to change, when I could find things funny, when I started saying things that I wasn't having to think about what I was saying, you know, where that was when you don't know at the time, but you go, holy shit, yeah, I wasn't, you know, that was a reflexive sentence, or that was even one sentence was a big achievement, you know.
And in hindsight, that was a positive.
Yeah. Like it's gas, you know, because you're right. I don't know how many comedy shows I've written, and I've written 2 plays, and I don't know. Jesus, all the shite we come out with here every day, and that first sentence that's reflexive is the best thing that's ever come out of my mouth, you know, because that was kind of the road to redemption, yeah. Like, you know, that just, and I am a big fan of the meds. Like, you know, people say they're afraid to take meds. I'm not afraid. The meds are what fix me. No, I have no doubt about that. You know, that's what keeps me balanced. You know, that's you know, Jesus, they don't have a negative thing for me, you know.
Because I was going to just ask you, and I know we're going to wrap it up now.
I have to go to my psychiatrist now. I have to be there at 10:30 or 11:30.
Anyway, the last question is, I suppose, and look, it probably feels a bit like a cliche or whatever, but I mean, you literally can deliver the been there, done that, bought the T-shirt on this. It's kind of, I suppose.
Yeah, well, to a degree, like I suppose, yeah.
But a lot of people, and I accept, obviously, you know, that just like with so many other things, it can be completely different for every single individual. So there's absolutely no one size fits all. But I mean, what do you take from it? Being on as close as anybody can be to say, let's say, being on the other side of this particular episode. Yeah, even if it's not on the other side of the illness.
Like, honestly, like the hardest thing in the world when you feel like that is to say it to someone. It's the hardest thing in the world, but that is the bottom. Like when you have to say it to someone. And again, I was lucky. I had health insurance. I was actually going to cancel it last year. I came in, I realised I was paying for child counselling and all I was paying for. I mean, I don't have kids. I was like, what am I doing with this? Thank God I didn't cancel it. I had somewhere to go and whatever else, but you have to say it. You get into your GP. If you're feeling really, really desperate, get into a hospital. Go to A&E, you know. Demand that someone helps you, you know. I know it's going to sound insane to anyone that is depressed, and I know it sounds impossible, but give yourself the chance. Talk to your friends. Tell everybody around you that you're not feeling well, because you will get help, you know. Everybody. If you won't get a bad reaction. You know, it's not a bad thing. You know, you will. There is a road out, like, you know, there is. I know it doesn't feel like it. I know that sounds ridiculous when you're in it, but there is a way out, you know, there really is. There's, like, even if it takes longer, like, even if they tell you it's going to take 4 weeks and it actually takes 11, but there is a way out, you know, and people do live with it, and it's an ongoing thing, you know. You just work at it, and that work gets easier and easier and easier and easier the longer it goes on. And
then just absolutely, I promise, the final last question is just, so now you've done this, okay, so we've had this chat. At the moment that we're chatting, it's not in the public domain, but in the not too distant future,
it will be. Yeah,
Clint is going to press the button, and it will go out there, and it's out there, and it's now it'll become public knowledge. Exactly. So, how are you feeling now about putting it out there?
Yeah, all right now. It was still, even when I got out, there's still a huge stigma on it in my head. Do you know? And then people are asking me, where were you for 2 months? What are you doing? Were you making young offenders and all? And I just was lying all the time. You know, and then I'm like, what am I lying for? I'm walking around telling everyone, tell your story, don't be suffering in silence. And I'm walking around in great form, but lying my arse off about what was happening. And then making you lie, and making Clint lie, and making like Kevin lie, and everyone's lying for me. Elaine's lying, and I'm just creating this net, and there's no need for it, you know. Like, I'm never going to be that ill again. Just, that's what happened, you know, and maybe it'll help someone, maybe whatever, you know, hopefully it will. I guess that's another part of it too, you know. So, but thankfully I'm never been better, like literally never been better. Bad news for you, because I'm going to be hyper all the time. But,
yeah, this is him well.
Yeah.
Well done, man. That's all I can say to you. Well done. Well done on,
very much for putting up with all this.
Coming through it. Well done on putting it out there. Just well done.
Yeah, we'll see what happens now. Jesus, I'm never going to be an advocate for it. Like, don't, by the way, one of the maddest things that happened was when I was at my worst, my absolute worst. This guy rings me and goes, "You wouldn't come and do a talk in the GAA club." He goes, I was there watching. What about? And he goes, mental health awareness. I was there, suffering Jesus. I was there, we just think you being real positive. I was there, Positive?
Yeah, if you knew where I was.
I was like, I'm in a bay in the hot. They won't even trust me to sit in the room. You know, I was there. I can't do. I had to, and I said yes. I don't know. You know, weirdness. I had to ring him then, or send him a message and cancel and all. Oh Jesus! Like I feel that lad. If he hears this, he's going to go.
Wow. Yeah, my timing really was spectacularly good.
And all the
bad.
messages and all. I haven't seen you in the pub in ages. Like, you know, and you're still saying, yeah, sorry I haven't been around, or I'm very busy and all. Very busy, yeah. Very busy trying to actually feel like a human being again. You know, I should have just said I was in a hospital. Like, what's the big deal, you know? Like, you just think it's going to be... But it's... And I'll never forget, it was so weird with Kelly Harrington. She's the sort of linking, unknowing person in all of this. Because the week, or 3 days before I went to hospital, she was in here with us, do you remember?
Yeah.
And it was the Friday. I think it might have been my last day. And she worked in Vincent's mental hospital, you know, cleaning and all. And she was saying, oh yeah, no, you wouldn't know. You'd be in there and it's just like regular people you meet in the street. And I remember thinking, I took comfort in
almost
that.
like a deep breath.
I knew I was going in.
Yeah.
The
or
next
sigh
day.
of relief, rather, yeah.
That Saturday, I knew I was going in. And then I got out of the hospital and came back. And now we're doing this. And she was only here last week. So she's sort of this adjoining character. She hasn't a clue about any of it.
Or does she?
Yeah, but yeah, it's just that joining that thing, you know. So I can see myself how bad I was when she was here the first time compared to what she was, or like the last time she was here.
I think it's going to be like when as I say, when Clint hits the button and it hits the public, so to speak. I think it's going to be extraordinary. I think there'll be a lot of people who'll be, you know, understandably sort of flabbergasted or shocked.
No, so many people I've said it to are just like going, I never thought you would be like that. Everyone thinks you're super confident because you're on stage and all, but I always told the truth. Like, I only ever do that because I can't do anything else, you know. I'm a remarkably untalented human being when it comes to labour.
But the other thing about it is, for all of the kind of shock and all of the other thing, you know, look, it's putting it out there because you're such a profiled, you know, I know I slag you about being a celebrity all the time, but a profiled individual, and to be able to deal with it and to have come through a particularly dark episode within it, because it is an ongoing process. Yeah, as you say yourself.
And it's great when people are so natural about it. Like one of the best things ever was the other day. I was like, I'm not feeling great, and Jim goes, "You're not going mental again, are you?" And that was, and I love that. I love that because you know.
Bear in mind, you are the only person I would ever say that to.
But I love that because it's so natural. You know, there's no barrier there. You know, and like plus our people our age communicate by slagging each other.
Yeah,
you know,
I was just going to say. Plus, that's the way we talk to each other.
Yeah,
the best
that's how we talk to each other all the time. So you're not going mental again. Oh, yeah. You're like, you know.
Anyway, look, you madser.
Thanks, yeah. Your head fire.
You are not alone. If you've been affected by any of the issues raised in this conversation, you can free phone the Samaritans 24 hours a day for confidential support at 116 123 or email joe@samaritans.org. You can also contact Pieta House on their helpline at 1800 247 247 or text HELP to 51344 to reach a counsellor. And you can also get a range of mental health supports at mentalhealthireland.ie.